Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Madals and I'm jumping in to another series straight away, minimizing downtime as best I can in this qualifier. And we've got another ZVP coming up here. Spawning to the top right of Frost, we have got the pink Zerg player representing Vega Squadron, none other than JonnyREcco. And his opponent to the lower left, the green Protoss player representing ESC, JackO. Tense times gonna be coming up now, and I'm really looking forward to what these two are gonna do. They're two of actually my favourite players as individuals. I've met JonnyREcco repeatedly, and I've cast JackO so many times in things like the Go for SC2 Cup, so happy to see them both in this qualifier. Sad to see them both contending against each other so early on. So, worth checking where this bracket is at and which game this is. This is this is actually around a 64 game. So we are actually getting fairly deep into the top of the bracket here. JonnyREcco was put in as seed number 1 thanks to all those algorithms that were busy chinking away at who should get where. JonnyREcco's had 2 now quarterfinal finishes in the first 2 WCS qualifiers, and the quarterfinals are the finals. Top 4 places in each qualifier get themselves a spot in WCS EU Challenger. Spawning pool on its way out for Rico here. It was a hatch into a pool build. That is why we saw the drone come down and check for any cannons and things like that. Rico's overlords aren't going to be able to find anything though, because JackO's spawning cross spawns. JackO, on the other hand, is going to find stuff pretty damn quick, because he's got a probe that is sneaking on in. Check the bottom right first, realise he wasn't there, and goes cross spawns, and goes, yep, that is a hatchery. By the timing, may now be able to deduce that it is a hatchery first. Potentially going to. And he's actually going for a pylon here, but bear in mind, there's no forge. This is a fake out. This is like, hey, pull your drones. And every Zerg player who is worth their weight in lava will certainly pull a lot of drones, because there's not a huge disadvantage. Worst case, the pylon gets cancelled and it was a fake out, in which case you just go to mining at your natural base. Best case scenario, it was a cannon rush and you just stop yourself dying, in which case, woohoo. JackO now taking his expansion. He's got 2 gases, Cybercore on the way. He's going to have a fair bit of gas banked up, ready for when that Cybercore's finished. He can't actually go straight into any kind of tech, because he's going to need to make the mothership core first, but can get out some tech fairly fast this game. Rico, on the other hand, he's looking to get his 3rd hatchery up as soon as possible. Hasn't even scouted yet, but he's just like, well, if you haven't tried to kill me, you're probably expanding. And also, let's be honest, 1-base Protoss plays against Zerg, not really common anymore. Everything's about the 2 Nexus, and it's either going to be a gateway expand or a Nexus first or a Forge fast expand. Either way, you're going to want a 3rd base up fairly quick. Against the gateway expand, you do have a bit more time before you need that 3rd to stay kind of level. But Rico should be relatively happy. He's not going to be contending with the big Zealot play, which I personally think is probably the most awkward thing to defend against as a Zerg player if you do take this 3rd a little bit faster. But instead, he's going to be contending up against the Stargate, which is potentially going to be used for an Oracle, more likely going to be used for Phoenix, or the outlying shot is that it's going to be used for Void Rays. Void Ray. Void Rays are a lot more rare because they don't have as much harassment potential, but they do have some great mid-game use, so it's seen in some builds. In we go now, with this Zealot. Going to be just slowly trying to chip away at the Queen. A Time Warp can be used, will be used just to try and secure the kill, but not likely to get it. Thanks to a couple of Lings coming through here, we'll take down that Zealot, and this isn't ideal for JackO. His Mothership Core taking a decent bit of damage. JonnyREcco's Queen may actually fall to the Mothership Core. Is it going to be a hero? Does manage to get it. Oh, that was stressful. Mothership Core with 16 health remaining. Too close. Too close. Anyway, a couple of Zerglings running across the map. We do have Phoenix on the way onto the field, but none have yet been revealed. The reason the Phoenix are a little bit later is because some sentries have come out, and that's where a lot of the gas has gone to. Force field being used early here. JonnyREcco adding in 3 spore corners. I assume this means he's scouted the Stargate. Yeah, he has, so already knows what's coming. Adding in the Roach Warren. So this Roach Warren just means that he can wait patiently and just hope that things go well for him. He can kind of add in a good number of roaches and lings should a ground-based push be coming. Once the lair's finished, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see a Hydra Den come down, because Roach Hydra is the standard build you do up against, or the standard composition you go for up against Protoss currently. REcco is also a fan of going Vipers nice and fast. Probably the better bet most of the time. I'm a big advocate of Roach Hydra Viper rather than Roach Hydra Corruptor. And the reason for that is because the Vipers have utility aside from just taking out Colossi. They've also got a great use with Blinding Cloud. There's a big ground-based army. The Abducts are great even if there's other things coming onto the field. So, say Immortals you can abduct, Archons you can abduct, etc. So one of these Phoenixes comes poking through, sees that, hang on, this is a lot of lings, quite a few roaches. REcco sees the third base and is going to be trying to get some damage off against it. Running through now with these Zerglings. Wraps all the way around. Some force fields may need to be expended in order to protect the sentries. But this wastes a little bit of that sentry energy. No roaches coming across yet. Where are all the roaches? I say all the roaches. The 2 roaches. The pair of roaches on their way to Noah's Ark. But yeah. This is all cool. Nothing too much really happening. We've got the Spire coming down as well now. So REcco could be going for those Corruptors, after I made a big point of saying that he likes the Vipers. Or he could be going for a massive Mutalisk play. The Mutalisk play would be kind of crazy though, because there are already Phoenix out. So it would be a risk. And considering there's 5 Phoenix out already, a Mutaswitch would have to be gigantic to have a chance. Anyway, couple of additional gates. Photon Cannon up. The third base relatively secure, especially with the option to Photon Overcharge thanks to the energy on that Mothership core. The Phoenix still being irritating. The Corruptors are good against the Phoenix. They zone them out very well. Phoenix basically cannot trade up against Corruptors ever. There is a very small window that they can do if they've got Anion Pulse Crystals, the range upgrade, where they beat the range of a Corruptor by 1. And as such, they're able to just start fighting against them fairly easy. Not too much else really to say on REcco's side. A second Stargate coming through, and that's because the Spire's been seen. So just preparation in case this is a big Mutalisk build. Corruptors now revealing themselves. Going to grab one of those Phoenix early on, which have now certainly seen that the 4th base has been taken. Mutalisks being added through too. Now, I know I said Mutalisks would be a bit crazy up against Phoenix, and they are, on their own. But with the Corruptor support, Mutalisks actually aren't crazy. As crazy as that sounds. What also is crazy though, is this 5th base. Being hidden down the bottom right. The 5th base is super important, because if you want to go for a lot of mutas, you need a lot of gas. And that means you need a lot of bases. 5 base is generally the ballpark you want to aim for if you're going for a big Mutalisk base play in the mid and late game, because you need that kind of 1,000-ish gas per minute in order to fund 10 mutas a minute to get up a sizable flock quickly. So, just waiting now to see where these mutas go for. There's 2 Photon Cannons up, which are going to do a pretty damn good job of zoning out a lot of this army. More Phoenix coming through. 1 Void Ray at the moment, and the Void Ray and Stalkers are going to be on a prime target to try and take out those Corruptors. That's their aim. Infestation Pit also coming through. Now, a couple of Infestors wouldn't be crazy, because fungal growth would be massive. So important if you can hit those on air units. They stack up and you can really shut them down and keep them still, which means that then the Phoenix have a benefit because they outrange the mutas and obviously can try and kite them, and the Corruptors have to chase. But if you take down that mobility thanks to a fungal, suddenly that advantage is gone. The Muta's going to be looking for a little bit of damage here. A couple of probes. Going to go down, but a quick little blink forward and a photon overcharge should cause this composition to back away. But it's the natural base where the pressure's coming through. We have got a lot of Zerglings here. Good number of roaches as well, or a couple of roaches there. But not really enough to stop this. Couple of force fields, but this reveals where the army is. The Mutalisks now heading straight towards that third base. They want to get some damage through the cannon being focused. But in come all of those Phoenix. The Mutas have no choice but to back away, but JackO being forced to try and be in two places at once. The Voidway, Archon and Stalkers really taking out a lot of the Corruptors in this army, but there's still 12 on the field. It's just a lot more have recently been produced. Straight away, Pathogen Glands on its way. The Hive also coming through. And this is all looking very, very good. Quick check from JonnyREcco to make sure there's no ninja bases, because he totally wouldn't do something like that. But also aware that his opponent may, so just checks for that. JonnyREcco had 5 bases up against 3, and that's giving him a fairly good economy, and it's the gas, as I've mentioned previously, that's so important. About 1,100 gas per minute. That's 11 or 12 Mutalisks per minute JonnyREcco can produce at peak. That's a huge number. You can see he's already maxed out and just banking up gas now at an incredible rate. Hive on its way. The Corruptors slowly working through these Phoenix. +1 air weapons done on both sides, although no sign of +2 air weapons. These Stalkers deciding to try and duke it out. The Archon's going to be the scary one, does a decent amount of splash to air, so got to be careful. But in come a lot of Lings to this third base. The Zerglings managing to make their way into the probe line, going to get a couple of worker kills, but nothing crazy. The natural base, though, seems to be the target for this Mutalisk flock, going straight up against these cannons. Going to try and punch immediately through. And Mutalisk still okay with cannons. The Corruptors being positioned between the Phoenix and the Mutalisks, giving them a bit of safety so they can start working through a couple more probes. And JackO really is the one being defensive. However, JackO just got a nice little win because he's discovered the hidden base. He's busy taking out an extractor, but that means that JonnyREcco is able to get as much gas income as possible. Handful of Zerglings, 5 in total, going to come and deal with this. At the 2-1 upgrades up against 3-0, depending on whether the Zealot turns to 5, will decide how this trade goes. But the Lings should be able to win it thanks to a little advantage there. So, JonnyREcco keeps this bottom right base, keeps those 2 gases, and he adds in the Ultra's Cavern, plus a ton more Infestors. Up to 6 now. And these Fungals are going to make or break the game, most likely, for the Zerg player. JackO has to make sure, without a shadow of a doubt, that he gets some big fungal. He misses the big Fungals. He doesn't stack those Phoenix. If these Phoenix stack up, as they're doing now, and a Fungal hits, bye-bye Phoenix. Is basically what you can say to yourself. No cancel went down on that 4th base, so while a couple of Corruptors are going to pay the price for that, it's worthwhile. Denying that 4th important. Quick little bow on those Infestors. They unbow, and there's the Fungal that JonnyREcco was looking for. And he goes with the Mutas. And since the Phoenix can't back away, they're all going to go down. This was the shot that JonnyREcco wanted. A huge amount of damage. He's going to lose his 5th base to all of these Zealots. The drones should survive because of a big flood of Lings coming over. But now the Mutas having to duke it out. The Corruptors could be corrupting the Stalkers just to maximize their damage. But remember, there's still more Infestors up at 6. So there's more fungal growths. The Stalkers can get locked down. The damage can be done. 5th base retaken. JonnyREcco still a base up though, regardless of losing that expansion to the bottom right. JackO adding in the +2 air weapons. He's also busy adding in the shield upgrades. Of course, shield upgrades do benefit air of Protoss, so it is worthwhile to get. The double Phoenix production still going through, but JackO having to remake all of his Phoenix, despite the Mutaflock still being huge and the Corruptor count being massive. So this is a problem. Adrenal Glands, the 3-3 upgrades, the Lings are scary too, not to mention the Ultras that could be coming at any moment. JackO has got to play exceptionally well now, until he can get up those Mutas again, to try and contend with the Mutalisks. The Phoenix coming in, there's only a couple of them here though, and the Corruptors and the Mutas together, good at dealing with them. The Archons still are a threat, but look at the Infestors. There is an Observer there. Good, and it was so smart by JackO not revealing that he knew they were there, so he could get right on top and get as much damage as possible. One Infestor backing away thanks to a fungal growth. The Mutalisks tearing through some of these cannons that are trying to be the static defense. Got to be careful about stacking up though, because those Archon shots really start to hurt. The Phoenix still getting more damage. So, JonnyREcco up in supply, 190, with a 6th base on the way, and his ninja base 5th retaken. And also with a fairly big mineral bank, but needs the gases, that's why we see them already there prepared. JackO, on the other hand, he's at 148 supply, and he's doing everything he can to counter the Mutalisks. But tech switches are going to be a way to stop that. Of course, Ultras are massive units, and I don't want to say they're fat, but I'm just saying Phoenix can't lift them. And so, these Phoenix are going to become very, very limited in their usage. Actually, REcco losing a couple of these units isn't a problem. It allows him to get a couple more Ultras. And what he's going to be looking for is, can I sneak my way through a big Ultralisk army, big Ultraling army, for the most part, and then just come a knocking. And you go, I've got like all my supply in Phoenix. This isn't what I wanted. Great fungal growth there, and I say all the supply in Phoenix, but a lot of these Phoenix are now going down. A couple more of the Mutas getting taken out, and JackO probably sitting here thinking, I'm getting some nice wins, it's going okay. But he doesn't even know about the Hive, let alone the Ultra Cavern. Hasn't seen any of the Ultralisks yet, they're still mulling about. A couple of Zealots trying to trade here, but remember, Adrenal Glands is done, 3-3 is done, which should give away the Hive. But the Ultras still waiting, 3 more on their way. Not a, oh sorry, I was going to say not a single Immortal, there's one, chilling here, being like, I'm an Immortal, what up? 6th base of JonnyREcco, about to get taken down as well. And this isn't a huge loss, because REcco has got a fair bank. He's got this bottom right-hand base still, which is adequately defended by static defense. His Muta flock is more like a Muta small gathering at 7, but he's able to pick up these Zealots that are attempting to harass and run by. The Ultras have now been seen. Emergency Immortals being produced. And while Archons aren't terrible, there are 10 Phoenix that are just sitting here doing zilch. Okay. REcco needs to not wait too long now, because double Void Ray production can start, and Void Rays are very effective up against Ultras. Oh no, but this 3rd base, it's not defended until the Phoenix come over. That's good. So the Phoenix are going to be able to shred through the remaining Mutalisks, and REcco needs to go sooner rather than later, ideally. The Infestor's there, get a fungal growth, and that was the fungal that he needed. Tears through just so many Ultras here. JackO's army supply crumbling to this many Ultras that do have the 3-3 upgrades. Kindness Plating about to kick in as well, but this engagement went down beforehand. JackO's 4th base imminently going to fall, and still so many Ultras alive at 9. There's a lot of Corruptors coming through as well just to win the battle in the skies, but the 4th base dies, the 3rd base gonna be next in the siege path. And while this Void Ray is valiantly trying to slowly cut through that Ultralisk armor, there's just so much here. Void Rays unfortunately aren't very effective up against Lings either. So they're gonna need more on the ground. Surprising REcco didn't go more aggressive to try and stop that base, but he knows that his opponent has only got 27 workers. And only 27 workers is a problem, because that means economically you look a bit like this. 160 minerals and 350 gas per minute. Not the best spot. REcco's got a huge amount of gas in the bank. Not many minerals actually. His mineral income isn't as high as it was before. Needs to be careful about that, but he's still got these Ultras. 8 of them on the field. The rest coming over. The first few just sitting there, but the Corruptors just going straight up to the Void Rays, which do okay against Corruptors in an equal fight, but this was very one-sided. JonnyREcco takes game number 1 of this best of